say that the Jaguar always stalks its prey before pouncing for the kill. When it senses weakness, they make their final move. Good news for you, Duvall, because this team is going to kill whatever is remaining of your spirit. Jacksonville seems to be making the same moves with Trevor Lawrence. He has no offensive line, unproven weapons, and may not be truly ready to face NFL defenses? The best way to create superheroes is through torture and suffering, right? Gardner Minshew can be traded for a few clippings of his mustache. CJ Henderson might get a touch more than that if his demands for a trade are met. Joe Schobert jettisoned a year after signing a big contract. Regime changes are tough, and Urban Meyer may be a desperation heave who may not be viable for the NFL game, but don't tell that to the Cons. He may be saying the quiet parts out loud to the press, but they'll just book him on AEW if he flops. Can any of those wrestlers fill in as a third down back? Travis Etienne is out with the Liz Frank injury? Oh no, that's a fucking death sentence for running backs. The AFC seems to be top-heavy again, but there's a ton of competition in the middle, and that's where the intrigue will come into play. The divisions seem relatively cut and dry. Buffalo wins the AFC East, Cleveland gets the AFC North, Tennessee claims the AFC South, and Kansas City locks up the AFC West. But for wildcards, there's an argument to be made for many teams. For the three I'm choosing, I'm going with Baltimore, Miami, and the Chargers. It was very tough to pick anyone who stands out in that regard. So I'm hoping for a really exciting AFC this season. I have a gut feeling another 10-win team isn't going to make the playoffs again. How the hell do we have a potential tank bowl in week 1? The master of ceremonies for this gala, none other than Deshaun Watson. Currently being chucked on the inactive list to rot while Houston wants 2020 value for any suitors acquiring him. This forces Tyrod Taylor to take over, and he was quite strong. The Texans look like a team that could make noise this season, which leads me to issue serious questions about Jacksonville. Why are you so fucking shit? Why is Trevor Lawrence being sizzled on an open fire by opposing defenses? Why are there more rumors leaking about how terrible Urban Meyer is at the NFL level? The Jags look like they didn't even belong in the same hemisphere as their opponent. It was gnarly, and I'm now placing bets on Meyer to resign due to health issues by week 14. This isn't Gainesville, Urban. College shit don't fly here. If you enjoy college coaches who should have stayed in college or the broadcast booth, let me introduce you to Urban Meyer, an absolute legend who has been so out of place at the NFL level that he's been linked to a job opening at fucking USC. With how bad the Jags have been so far, especially against Denver, that's a statement very easy to make. What the fuck have you guys done with Trevor Lawrence? Why the hell does he look so terrible so far? I get that he's a rookie and there's an adjustment period, but Jesus Christ, skewering on a kebab, you're gonna fuck him up! Give the man some goddamn help! Teddy Bridge literally just has to be Teddy Bridge, and Denver cruises to an easy victory. The Jags have become so pathetic it's predictable. Don't worry, Duvall. You only have 15 more games of this grease fire. This team is going to ruin Trevor Lawrence. There is little here that shows me that the Jaguars have any idea what the hell they're doing on any side of the ball. Arizona was absolutely beatable. When they try to go for a 68-yard field goal at half and you return it for a 109-yard touchdown, you usually should win that game. But this is Jacksonville, and all hope is fed to Gators to appease the Florida god. Maybe someday the Jags can properly utilize their 1,000-yard rusher. Maybe they can get receivers that can catch. Perhaps they won't call a fucking flea flicker with no offensive line and T-Law throwing off his back foot. The Cardinals were trying everything to let you win the game, yet American Fulham is so shit they should be insta-relegated to the XFL. I wish there were relegation in American sports. They deserve it for trading away CJ Henderson for pennies early on. Bring back the Orlando Apollos. At least that team tried. I was surprised that this game didn't blow spectacular chunks of ass all over the field. There are two explanations as to how Jacksonville is somehow leading a game by multiple scores. Either the Jags have channeled their inner Gainesville and are playing well, or since he got overconfident, thus sloppy in execution. I'd probably say it's a bit of both. Now before we go on, I want you to imagine a time when Trevor Lawrence isn't tethered down by Urban Meyer. You don't need to think that hard about it. Hopefully it's because Meyer realizes his mistake and executes himself from coaching duties. Like all semblance of progress in Jacksonville, the lead is too good to be true. The Bungles made crucial stops on defense. The Jaguars threw flags at their own dicks. It's the perfect formula for a walk-off field goal and the 19th straight loss on Jacksonville's tour of death. Give it up for consecutive loss number 19! And Cincy having hope again, that too. Urban Meyer, a champion of family values, giving zero fucks about team protocol, grinding out wins off the field. You may see a woman gyrating on Urban, but he's merely teaching this girl about the intricacies of defensive coverages. He called for soft zone and she gave him press coverage. Meyer tried to put his field general into prevent, but the girl executed bump and no run. The horrible people who took him out for the night robbed him of wholesomeness. Hitting on other girls as a married man and his wife takes care of the kids. Oh, the shame of it all! He needs to go on the Jimmy Swaggart tour of repentance. He's been a distraction from the distraction of shitty football. Cowering in fear from his players as his credibility in the locker room hits brand new lows. Some say he's already lost it with his antics. He's been quite devastated and heartbroken, they say, which is perfect for him to be lol cow of the week. Women aren't good for those heart issues you've been having, sir. What do you get when you mix a city stuck in Earth's version of hell? A football team amplifying that kind of bullshit, and a visitor that just got embarrassed by the New York Jets. Trick question, I know. The answer is King Henry rummaging over anyone that dared stand against him. Jacksonville must have been the church trying to challenge his might because he was once again running with authority. I'm more surprised that this game wasn't on Thursday night like it usually is. The Titans do get their bounce-back game to retain a commanding lead in Tank Division. Jacksonville is at least finally using James Robinson properly. Too bad there's little talent elsewhere, including on the sidelines. Behold consecutive loss number 20! You know what you need to do, boys. Break the record. Grind it out like Urban does on a Friday night. Tank Bulls. They're so uncared for that America outsourced this game to London. Maybe someday those chaps won't get teams that grind their dicks into a blender. And maybe someday the Dolphins will learn not to rupture our fucking spleens when they have a shred of expectation. Remember when we thought Chan Gailey was the thing holding back Miami's offense from greatness? Yeah, those were some good times. This team is such fucking trash they're strangling fish in the ocean. Jacksonville has lost 20 consecutive games to this point, yet with how badly their everything is played, Urban's gonna be looking for young tail at a club tonight. Maybe he'll find an exotic girl named Tua Turndabalova. Despite the Dolphins' 17-3 lead, we realized that Trevor Lawrence was hyped as a top draft pick. In spite of being handicapped by shitty coaching and no talent, the Jags are sneaking their way back into this game. Be lucky that this nearly botched punt was inconclusive. The fact that it's this close, this late, I smell bullshit on the horizon.
54-yarder, nope. And got it!
The fuck, so now we're imitating free kicks because we're in England? Good to know. And good to know the Dolphins are back to tanking even though they don't have their first-round pick. You worthless assholes. I don't even want to see the final drive for Jacksonville. Just end my life in perpetual disappointment.
To win it. It's away, and he got it!
Jacksonville wins their first game since Phillip Rivers was dadgumming the field. Fuck you, Miami. But to cap your blowholes with flex tape. I had faith in you cunts! Welcome to how Houston felt last year, boys. You blew it! You think we forgot how terrible you've been as an NFL head coach, Urban? You may have gotten lucky these past few weeks due to the emails you probably had a hand in leaking, but the cold reality of how unprepared the Jaguars are every week says more than enough. They made the Seattle Seahawks, blessed with a defense with all the absorbency of wet paper, look like the Legion of Boom again. Jacksonville's offense was 17 shades of sheep shit. Outright dominated by a team that had been absolutely lost without Russell Wilson for these past few weeks. Geno Smith looked like he was back at West Virginia, for fuck's sake. With news of Russell Wilson potentially coming back sooner than expected, it might not all be lost for them. But do you seriously expect me to believe that Jacksonville is in the right hands? You sure you want to trust this guy, Mr. Khan? If you don't want to pay him a severance, you can always assign him to AEW as a manager of, I don't know, Britt Baker? Team significantly favored against one of the most pathetic excuses for a professional football squad in Jacksonville's alumni game. We expected another rout, and what we ended up getting was a massive fucking comedy sketch. Buffalo has had serious trouble with offensive consistency this season. It happened against Pittsburgh, it happened in the first half against Miami last week, and it happened yet again against the Jaguars. You can't take the Bills back into the shop this time, they're closed for personal reasons. Touchdowns need not apply to this game. Terrible football is the headliner in Duval. Some could call it greatness. Ugliness that is a sick fascination to the public eye. like an old freak show of fumbles, interceptions, and whiffs. Tied at 6 at halftime, it becomes a game of who wants to hand the win to the other team more. Josh Allen got sacked by Josh Allen and then threw a pick to not Josh Allen. Jacksonville doesn't do much with the ball and misses a field goal, and somehow gets another chance and misses again and make that 3 times in a row. Unlike that kicker, Josh Allen dominated his namesake in the mirror match by picking off Josh Allen. We are then amazed that Jacksonville can score points. How many of them do you need to beat the Bills? Apparently only 9. Josh Allen can't do anything as Josh Allen flexes his superiority. Josh Allen reminds everyone of his first-round pedigree by leading his team in an unprecedented win against Josh Allen. Confusing, ain't it? It's just like this game to anyone who watched it. Buffalo is concerned with O-line play and execution, and it cost them as Urban Meyer treated them like a co-ed. Don't look now, Bills. Someone you've loathed for decades is sneaking up behind you, and he knows your darkest secrets. New England is preheating their oven for the eventual feast.
You blew it, boy! You really blew it!
If you were to look at their record, you believe the Indianapolis Colts have a shot at being playoff contenders, and salvaging a nearly lost season proves it. I counter with this. Name me one quality opponent they've beaten this year. Oh wait. Wonderful, they've beaten the Jets, the Texans, and brutally disappointing Dolphins and 49ers squads. Do you want me to crown them for an inflated record? I get that Jonathan Taylor is really good at running the ball, but everything else feels so damn underwhelming. Against a team like Jacksonville, nothing came easy. I really appreciated the fact that the offense faded to nothing in the second half, allowing the Jags back into the game. The Colts defense can't rest properly, and Trevor Lawrence's magical hair has brought this back to a one-score game. I'll laugh hysterically if Indy blows this, but they managed to score points for the first time in what seems like an age. But Jacksonville is countering and they're only down by 6. They'll make their response heard.
Lawrence is brought down. The ball comes out.
One of trying to secure their tank. Indianapolis somehow gets back to 500 by playing weak opponents and looking suspect as hell. Call me a hater, I'm not impressed. Talk to me when they beat a decent opponent and then I may consider them contenders. San Francisco is one of the few teams that gets to experience roughly 2 bye weeks in the season. No, this isn't a 20-week schedule. When you play the Jags, it's the equivalent of lining up against a scout team. These are games meant for teams like the Niners, where they've had both the win column and their confidence in situational football. Sometimes I think Urban Meyer's game planning involves a daiquiri on the beach and a night in a bar in Columbus. With how sloppy Jacksonville was today, it reinforces that thinking. The differences between the two franchises were night and day. Was very bullish on San Fran at the start of the year, and perhaps they're finally tapping into that potential of theirs with Kittle returning. They'll need it too. The rest of their schedule is a nice little grab bag of goodies to pick from. Let me describe the Jaguars season in one picture. Before the game, the team's mascot was stuck in the air while ziplining and had to be lowered to the upper bowl. Never has a situation been more ironic. Jacksonville is stuck because things keep fucking up. Atlanta is not a good football team, yet against easy opponents like this, it's a feast. This was a group that had been blown the fuck out in the past 2 games, yet shook it off like nothing happened. It's what the Jags do for teams. They are the health icon in a video game. No matter the wounds, there will be healing and rejuvenation. It was an easy win for the Falcons. Almost too easy. Even then, for as pathetic as they are in reality, Atlanta's only a game behind in the wildcard race. The Falcons have been doing nothing but shooting their own kneecaps and are still in striking distance. The 2021 NFL season, folks. Millions around the football world cheer for the Detroit Lions and their win. Jacksonville is still as fucking useless as ever. Detroit may be the special needs kid that people rally around, but the Jags are the entitled sack of shit that alienates everyone around him due to his unwarranted arrogance. The Rams needed to stop the bleeding after losing 3 in a row. And I bet you anything they had this game circled on the calendar. It was probably obvious to anyone with a pulse, but Jacksonville has no idea what the fuck they're doing. The terrible offense has somehow gotten worse. The defense is only running prevent, preventing them from winning. If Houston is Division I AA South, Jacksonville is Division I AA Southeast. I feel like the Rams should be paying the Jags a hefty sum for being their easy win and beatdown target like most big colleges do. Unfortunately for Urban, you can't just shower the best athletes with perks to come to your team in college. If you want to play God in the NFL, you have to earn it. Jacksonville Jaguars are a Dave Chappelle comedy special. All they do is deliver the laughs. They're so consistently bad, so incredibly mismanaged, so goddamn terrible at literally everything involving football. Tennessee can enjoy the free win, but that was all but expected. If they're lucky, they'll be getting King Henry back just in time for the playoffs. The Jags aren't as fortunate. James Robinson is being Heidi Fleist in the back. Trevor Lawrence spoils faster than milk in the sun. Fucking Harlem has better urban planning than Jacksonville has. We have Marvin Jones, a respected veteran, openly walking out on the team and getting into massive arguments with Joseph Duvallin over here. The cult of personality is very real. He proclaimed he's a winner, and his assistants are the biggest losers this side of the goddamn state. Yeah, Urban, 2-11 is quite the impeccable winning culture these days.
Jacksonville Jaguars eliminated.
We can all agree this year has been insanely fucked for the NFL. Most games like the last one we recap feel like they're on some kind of drug cocktail. It's exhausting to follow this league some weeks. The only benefit is in memes fresh out of the oven. You thought it couldn't get worse. An old friend has reemerged onto the scene. Corona-chan is back from her lengthy vacation and wreaking havoc on every sports league throughout America. The NFL has felt her wrath hard. You may have noticed all the coughing last week. It was for good reason. Over 150 cases in the league over a 5-day span. It's not Pokemon to catch. Coronavirus is running a train throughout multiple organizations. Cleveland and the Rams have over 25 players in COVID protocol. Washington has over 20. Other teams like the Bears, Texans, and Lions are getting wrecked as well. 8 teams are in enhanced COVID protocols. This is the worst case scenario we were fearing last season, and we're seeing it happen in front of our eyes. The NFLPA pleaded with the league for games to be postponed, but of course they waited until the last moment. In a shocker, the Shield cared more about game integrity than cold hard cash. The Saturday Browns and Raiders tilt has been pushed to Monday. Seahawks versus Rams and Reskins versus Eagles have been rescheduled for Tuesday. We have it again in doubleheader form, boys! Tuesday night football! Any chance we can get a Wednesday night game? For all the glorious memes? Urban Meyer, a man who knows how to bump and grind with the best of them. Master of the stagnating offense and ruination of players and prospects. Now you can add aspiring kicker to that fine drama-filled resume. The next headache puts its foot out with Josh Lambo, former kicker of the Jags. Urban seems to enjoy getting his sick kicks and a lack of professionalism. I don't care if it's true or not, even college kids don't deserve to be treated as poorly as he's done Jacksonville this season. Shad Khan tried his hardest to remain stubborn and keep his prized hire around, but the situation had become completely untenable. Not after all the shit that's been revealed this past week. Urban Meyer has evolved into Urban Fired. What a fucking disaster. I knew this was going to be awful considering how poorly most college coaches fare at the pro level, but Urban somehow shit on that bar. The dude seriously thought he was still in Gainesville or Columbus. He tried to act like he was the god of Duval without proving a damn thing to his players or staff. Constant dysfunction, mistrust, and deception, while building both a culture of fear and a cult of personality. Urban only cared about one thing: himself. He wanted to win his way. He wanted all the credit when things went right, and he wanted complete control. But this is the NFL. That shit don't fly in the pros. It must suck when everyone else can buy the best players too. Now the facade is off. Urban is a fraud. How the hell do you not know who's playing in a given game? How do you not travel back home with your team after a loss? This is the bare minimum, and he chose to actively neglect duty. Our expectations for you were low, Urban, but holy fuck! Shad Khan was so afraid of being proven wrong that he let the Bobby Petrino 2.0 charade go on for months longer than it should have. And it's potentially irreparably damaged the organization. That's why the Jags organization as a whole is lolcow of the week. Urban, do you believe you did a terrible job in Jacksonville?
Yeah.
No further questions. Out of all the games that needed to be delayed due to COVID, this game was unfortunately unaffected. Even Corona-chan wants little to do with how awful these two franchises are. Houston has a few cases of COVID, but nothing that's going to undo them against a team kicked by endless drama like Jacksonville. James Robinson finally got some goddamn carries. But the real highlight here is a fan completely unimpeded in the end zone as he ran for a touchdown. Jags will be signing him to the practice squad with his impressive evasion skills. With the game we saw today, you'd have thought that the top quarterback prospect was Davis Mills. The general properly dissected the remnants of the Urban Battalion to celebrate a seamless victory. As the troops march home to Houston, the Tank Bowl standings have a massive shakeup. With glorious losing, Jacksonville stakes claim to the #1 pick in the draft. In response, Urban will somehow kick it out of their hands because he's still deflecting blame like a Pro Bowl cornerback. This next match is far more important than anything else happening this week. A duel of shit to bring the true victor a prize perhaps greater than victory. That's right, my friends. The Jaguars and Jets. Both franchises expected to be heavy favorites in the 2021 Tank Bowl standings will potentially settle the great question of our times. Who will secure the first overall pick in the draft? The top two prizes of last year's tank-offs are fighting to forge their own legacies, but have struggled immensely for varying reasons. I may worry that both are being ruined, but Zach Wilson flashes the talent that earned him the right to be a top draft pick. Incredible running performances against a weakened Jacksonville unit, to be fair, are giving Jets fans a reason to hope for something greater. So many plays worthy of Tank Bowl that the only way to properly call it is with Sparrow-ditis. Both teams are moving the ball differently. The Jets exposing Jacksonville's weak run defense and special teams, and the Jags picking apart New York's JV secondary. We have an intriguing contest headed down to the wire. There isn't a clear-cut top draft pick this year, so no real reason to tank hard. Barring a desire to blow everything up, but both teams did so already. New York has a clear chance to finish Jacksonville off at their goal line, but they cannot penetrate their weakened defenses in time. It's still a one-score game. Now we can begin the legend of Trevor Lawrence. He hasn't had an elite comeback drive in the NFL yet, but there's a first time for everything. Look at how Jacksonville charges towards the goal line and see the future for yourself. They're down to the Jets' one, and a win is so close to their grasp. All they have to do is take it.
4th and goal. Here they come. Lawrence to the end zone.
Even if they did somehow make it, it would have been an illegal shift and 5-yard penalty. Figures Jacksonville fucks it up in the end, but take comfort. Consecutive Tank Bowl championships are in your grasp. All you have to do is lose to the Patriots and Colts, and the first overall pick is yours. The funny thing is that less than 5 years ago, these two teams met in Foxborough for an AFC Championship game. This time around, all we're asking is this question. How did Jacksonville fluke their way into that season? The Jags are in complete freefall, and this match was merely reinforcement of it. Bill Belichick loves him some jailbaited QB. He's a sick fuck, and he'll have his defense do vile, disgusting things to Trevor Lawrence. He'll do it to the entire Jacksonville franchise. Someone put this man on a sex offender list. He's violating the Jags in every orifice. The worst part is that Jacksonville's just sitting there and taking it. Emotionless. They're already suffering from extreme pain. All signs are pointing to them keeping Trent Baalke as GM because... what, does he make a good mac and cheese? It certainly isn't his illustrious record of player management, I'll tell you that. Jacksonville's run by clowns, we all knew this.
I'm calling both games.
Indy. What the actual fuck was that? In a game that was being handed to them as an easy win, the Colts undertook one of the most spectacular chokes the NFL has seen in its history. It's one thing if it's a close game, you know, the whole any given Sunday motif. Indy hadn't won there since 2014, and Jacksonville has nothing to lose. But this wasn't even that. This was a colossal failure on all fronts. The defense defended against Trevor Lawrence as well as a parking cone against a car. Offensive play calling was awful. Jonathan Taylor could do nothing as we meet the real failure of the game. This performance will near single-handedly run Carson Wentz out of town. All he had to do was not fuck up, and he shit his pants so often he needed Huggies. If you exclude his garbage time touchdown drive, Carson Wentz went 8 for 20 for 100 yards passing, a pick, a fumble, and a quarterback rating of 35. Need I remind you, this is against the worst team in football this season. Their fans came dressed as fucking clowns due to how terribly run they are, and they still got blown out of the goddamn water. Indy prolapsed when it mattered the most, and I'd strongly consider firing everyone if I'm in charge. These kinds of losses are hard to recover from. This is completely unacceptable from a so-called playoff contender. Ballard and Reich tethered their boats to the ship of Wentz in the offseason, and if he sinks, he might take them down with him. They are easy candidates for lolcow of the week, especially when given the circumstances. I knew something was off about these fuckers in the middle of the year, and their failures were revealed at the worst possible time. You deserve to be a meme, Colts. Embrace it. Get the fuck out of my sight and take your broken quarterback with you.
If you get the opportunity, you should kill yourself.
This has been a season. So many twists and turns that it's hard to conceive with the naked eye. If you were looking at this year seriously, it was absolutely exhausting. But do you know the true bounty to cherish? The memes. It was fucking gold for this economy. Thanks to incredible collapses, fantastic comebacks, Urban Meyer's coaching tenure, and whatever the fuck Antonio Brown did in the Jets game. And in the clowns. In all honesty, I think clowns would run Jacksonville better than whatever's supposed to be in charge of them right now. Oh, Lord have mercy, because the rest of us won't. Jags fans are going to erase this year so fast that it'll make Tiananmen seem like a minor inconvenience. Urban Meyer was a desperation heap of a hire from the beginning, and Jacksonville's lack of due diligence was hilarious to the rest of us. Seeing Urban think he was still in Gainesville and act like God himself with a harem of co-eds by his side. Not traveling back home with the team after games, kicking players, creating a culture of fear, undermining team operations. It was truly a disaster not seen since Bobby Petrino. The worst part is that Petrino won more at this level. Everything stagnated. Trevor Lawrence only threw one touchdown pass in nearly 2 months. They're going to Andrew Luck him so fast it'll be painful to watch. Hell, they already did it to James Robinson in more ways than one. The defense had 2 speeds, giving 0 fucks due to the chaos or speed dialing their agents to get the fuck out. Yet even for all of that, the inmates are still running the asylum in Duval. Trent Baalke is somehow still employed. The Jags did nearly everything in their power to fuck up their coaching search, be it from botching interviews with Kevin O'Connell to fooling everyone into thinking they'd hired Byron Leftwich and Adrian Wilson. No, firing Baalke's going to cost too much money for Shad Khan. Best to not rock the boat and clean the culture of shit that's been festering for years. You get Doug Peterson. He won a Super Bowl, you'll say. Yet ignore he won it because of Frank Reich and facing a Matt Patricia defense. It's not the worst case scenario, he'll at least try to build some semblance of culture. And if things go to shit, he knows how to deal with meddlesome GMs. Good luck, Clownsville. Honk honk.